MCK Chief Portfolios were recently divvied up, and KTV spoke to the Chiefs to discuss their particular files. On this episode, Chiefs Rhonda Kirby, Mike Delisle Jr., Lloyd Phillips, Billy Diabo, Kasennenhawe Sky Deer, and Bobby Patton.
There's some changes this time around. The portfolios were announced a couple of weeks back. What are these changes, and what was the reason for them?
Well, we're still in the process of finalizing the leads on each of the files. Some of our internal units will be changing over the next year, so that may change. If we might have 4 chiefs on social development, that may change in the future. So it's really looking at people's interests and what is expected in that position now. So we are, I think, 90% confirmed for the portfolios.
Okay, what about your portfolios?
Well, I still have several. I'm on health, and I'm currently designated as the education portfolio. I still maintain a seat under sports and recreation. I'm under the child care authority. I also sit on the athletic commission. So I'm hoping. There's quite a few interests I still have, and it'll be confirmed, I'm sure, by next week.
All right. Well, thank you so much for dropping in. We'll let you get back to your meetings downstairs. Well, speaking of portfolios, over the next few shows, we'll be speaking to various chiefs about their portfolios and their priorities over the next term, and we'll go to some of those right now.
Portfolio itself, the term I think maybe is misleading. We're trying to be in a more collaborative approach and role, and I'll give an example of what is formerly known or considered now as Social Development Unit, which houses membership and housing and so on, as well as Sports and Recreation, which will now be looked at more of a more customer-friendly type of atmosphere, and it's community-based services to ensure that the best possible service is being done. So several council members who will be sitting on these portfolios, and they will change and adapt over the course of probably the next 6-7 months or so into June, to see how this community-based services approach fleshes out. It's part of the reorganization that's happening within the MCK, and we want to ensure that operations team, the managers, and all the administrative staff work more collaboratively with Chief and Council. It's been a problem over the course of the whole time I've been here with that separation of politics and administration, which really can't work and can't happen in a community like ours. So we're looking to try and have a more user-friendly approach, number one, for a community. That's the number one goal, and also in the back end of it to assure that council and operations team are on the same page.
In the past, I've been involved with a lot of the public security issues and stuff, and at this point, with the recent elections, and we have people who've been involved with policing and such in the past, I felt maybe now was a good time for me to step back from some of the public security files and concentrate most of my efforts on the intergovernmental relations between Kasennehawe in Canada, Kasennehawe in Quebec, and Kasennehawe and other First Nations for that matter. So I've been doing a lot of that work over the years, but now I'll be able to focus more of my time on doing that. So in looking at the relationships with Canada, such as working on potential understandings and recognition of membership laws, of developing taking full control over our lands in our community, which is we call it the KCR, Kasennehawe Canada Relations, as well as with Quebec. There's many issues that are out there with Quebec that impact on Kasennehawe, to try to find a way through all the politics and all the administration to ensure that Kasennehawe's interests are protected and and our jurisdictions are recognized. So there's a lot of work to be done there to concentrate on, and I'm glad that I'm able to focus more attention on that rather than being pulled in 10 different directions. Maybe only pulled in 2 or 3. So I'm looking forward to the challenge, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be positive.
I'm on the education working group. And that I think is really important, and that's something I've been talking about for quite some time now. I'm on economic development also, and I started assisting Kevin with brush cutting and all that other stuff. So I think that's important to get jobs for everybody in town, as much as possible. I mean, this is a good one which doesn't entail the language there, so that's going to help a lot of guys right there. And I'm on with the youth forum. Since I deal a lot with the youth, with coaching and everything else like that, I think this is important for me to get on also, because I have big interest with the children and the youth, because they are your next everything from police to counselors. I'm assisting on the tobacco working group also, And that I think is really important also. We have to get something figured out where everything can start working again in full tilt, where put everybody back to work. I'm on the Joe Road committee also, and I'm on the Iroquois caucus. And I think, again, that's another thing too, with all the 7 communities that are in, and if we can stick together 60,000 to 100,000 natives, and people will listen to us. The border crossing, that's mine. There's no two ways about it. That's anything that's directed to border crossing in any way is to come to me.
I'm going to be more active in the intergovernmental relations, specifically the Kanessenhawe-Quebec relations, working directly with Grand Chief Mike Delisle to, I guess, see firsthand negotiations occurring and to get my feet wet, so to speak, as well AFN-QL, which is something different this time around. When I was on the education portfolio, which again is a difference because I'm not on that this term, I worked directly with the FNEC First Nations Education Council and got to meet a lot of First Nation chiefs across Quebec, so to maintain those relationships. Some of the similarities and portfolios that I'm keeping is the Legislative Coordinating Commission, again developing the community decision-making process, which I think is definitely a valuable tool for our community to have their input in our lawmaking process. The Youth Forum, of course, as we look to develop it further this term, Billy Diabo agreed to come on the file with me to help to address youth issues in the community, to get them more involved in the issues, politics, everything. So that's going to be developed further probably within this upcoming new year. Still a couple of boards that I'm maintaining is the Cultural Center, as well as the Youth Center. And I want to say that as a table, we've taken a different approach this time around, that we've set priorities and we've agreed that there's a couple of areas that we're all going to work on collectively, such as the seniory, which is a big file, and I know the community is waiting to see some results from that, as well as economic development. I believe almost everybody within their platform running for the 2012 election said that job creation and revenue generation are very important for the community, and that as a table we're going to look to address these areas.
Well, the major one right now is the education portfolio. You know, we're coming up with the work plan, trying to come up with some type of agreement how to get to the AGA, where we can have the four seats that have to be elected or reaffirmed. Well, I've been chosen for I requested and I'm on the PSB, Police Services Board, which is, I think with my background in policing for 22 years, I think I can assist and help and the knowledge to work and move forward for the policing and public security in Kasennenhawe, along with Community Protection Unit, myself and Gina and Carl. A lot of ex-police officers working on this type of file, which gives us background into all the fields that are required. The Iroquois caucus is another one I'm really interested in, because we're working on the issue with free trade, you know, with all the other 7 Iroquois communities, and but that also takes us to other Native communities throughout Canada. Really, you know, everybody has some type of something they work with that could be, you know, used like lumber, or you know, people are asking, is it going to include tobacco? Maybe, but you know, it all depends how we can work on it. You know, there's a lot of raw materials out there with every community that we can trade and work with. The portfolios took a lot of time to get to finally issue them out. But for me, being in council, it's quite an eye-opener. Everybody that council gets called down for not working on, or you know, it's a pace that you have to take careful, because you don't want to affect the community in whole, because it's all about for the community. And you know, if you rush something, you're gonna, you know, you might lose the progress there, and it's gonna hurt the community in general.